Yo, Cardboard.Capitan here with another deck for this week. I've got my version of the red-white Caretaker's Talent and Tokens deck that you may have seen in various places, whether it be on the ladder, other content creators, or in tournament results. I believe it was in Japan. Their standard tournament had red-white Caretaker's Talent tokens take the whole thing. So I've got my version. I call it red-white talented tokens, Boros talented tokens, but a lot of the idea is the same with some key changes. First off, no Urabrask Forge, and second off, no temporary lockdown. So you might ask, hey, those are key cards to the other deck. Why'd you take them out? Well, I have a few cards that are two converted mana costs, namely Bricks, Clay-Fired Bricks, Builder's Talent, and Carrot Cake, even though Carrot Cake's a popular card which you may see in other versions. And with Builder's Talent especially, you want this to stay on the field because not only does it provide a wall token, it also provides a way to power up your tokens through the level 2 ability, and you'll notice that there's a lot more permanence in here. So in the other version, there's Torch the Tower, Lightning Helix, none of that here. And finally, the level 3 acts as a reanimation spell, but it only works on non-creature, non-land permanents, so you'll use that ideally for the Planeswalker, but you can also use that for Carrot Cakes if you need the creatures in the scry, or Caretaker's Talent, Seal from Existence to answer some. So Builder's Talent definitely doesn't work with temporary lockdown. And since I'm not using Urabrask Forge, I bumped Caretaker's Talent down to 3, because another big part of that other deck is drawing cards each turn from the tokens that the Forge produces, triggering the Caretaker's Talent. So I bumped it down to 3, and in this deck, I feel that Caretaker's Talent needs a consistent generator of tokens to get that benefit. Otherwise, it's a do-nothing card. So with that said, I'll start with my personal changes, starting with Seal from Existence. Now, I felt that the other version of the deck doesn't have many answers to permanents, such as Planeswalkers, artifacts, enchantments, and so on. So Seal from Existence answers that, as well as can be resurrected from Builder's Talent, as well as having synergy from being a non-creature, non-land permanent to power up creatures from the Builder's Talent level 2. I understand that the other version has Lightning Helix and Torch the Tower, but that's 8 cards dedicated to answering creatures. Well, in other matches where there aren't too many creatures, well, those are dead cards, so I felt Seal from Existence is a better answer, both to other cards and for fitting in this deck. Now, Clay-Fired Bricks, it gains 2 life, it gets you a Plains, it also powers up through Builder's Talent level 2, but if you have the opportunity to craft with Artifact, then that's 2 tokens coming into play, as well as an Ansem effect, +1/+1 to all the creatures you control. Carrot Cake, that's a personal favorite of mine in this deck, alongside Caretaker's Talent, because Caretaker's Talent, it doesn't have the restriction of tokens coming into play on your turn, so you can activate Carrot Cake and draw on your opponent's turn, as well as have the Scry effect from Carrot Cake to improve the chances of getting a card you would need for your situation. It's a great little synergy there. Soul Partition. Alright, Soul Partition is excellent. I feel originally I wanted to have it as an answer to a lot of the red decks you might face in Best of 1. I'm also finding that I want it against these all-in Rotten Mouth Viper decks that sacrifice a lot of their board present to bring out an early Rotten Mouth Viper. So Soul Partition answers both of those, as well as being a form of tempo disruption. So while you're trying to build up your board presence, you might use Soul Partition to answer, say, a Urabrask Forge, have that reset down to 0 counters, also answer a Planeswalker, etc. It's a way of slowing down the opponent so you can build up your board. Let's see, same with Biza the Bounding Spring. It's incredibly useful against aggro because a lot of the time you'll be down life points, and they'll usually be up creatures, so you get your 2 tokens, which also triggers Caretaker's Talent if you have it. But also, don't be afraid to use it if you just need to draw a card and have a body on board. It's very useful. So, on that note, Lay Down Arms also has synergy with Biza, but it's a good low-cost removal. I understand it's going to give the opponent 3 life, but you have so much power on the board that 3 life often doesn't matter if you're doing more damage than the opponent can gain life. Sunfall, it's great for exile, so it stops a lot of enemy recursion and also has synergy with Caretaker's Talent, since it produces a Phyrexian token. I'll skip Song for now. Let me talk about the Planeswalkers for a bit. Archangel Elspeth. Archangel. It's a great card, especially for red decks. You want to use that +1 to get a lifelink token and do your best to pump it up through the -2 ability or Builder's Talent, so that you have a buffer against what red can do. I understand it's 2 copies, but when you do draw it, it's incredibly useful. You also have life gain from Carrot Cake and Clearfire Brick, so drawing it isn't, even at 2 copies, isn't impossible against red. And finally, Eternal Wanderer. A lot of the time you'll be using it as a board wipe through that -4 ability, and you have some redundancy again with Builder's Talent to bring it back. It also produces tokens for Caretaker's Talent, but in this deck, in this metagame, the most interesting ability is the +1 ability, because it's a way of answering the mirror match. You can flicker out their tokens and they don't come back. You can flicker out their Urabrask Forge and have it never come back, or you can clear the way for your creatures if they have a single creature that you can't answer. So I feel this is a great choice for both the meta and this deck. And finally, I want to end with Song of Totentans, because when I was first trying out different versions of the deck, this card caught me from surprise. So I decided, hey, let me try it out and see how it works. So again, you have and some effects from clay-fired bricks, level 3 Caretaker's Talent, and you're able to tap out to produce a lot of rats, whether they be 2/2, 3/3, or higher, and swing for the win. Only thing to note is that it can not only hasten the rat tokens you produce, it can also hasten tokens that come into play that turn. So, for example, if you have Archangel Elspeth or Eternal Wanderer, you can produce a token, then activate this, cast this, and the tokens you produce from your Planeswalker will also have haste. So if you need that extra little bit of damage, that's the way of getting it. Now with the spells aside, let me talk about the lands. So, Elegant Parlor, red-white Surveil land, just to meet the red requirement of Song of Totentans, and should you get Demolition Field or some other land destruction effect, you have a mountain to fetch out if you really need that red. 4 Fountain Ports, it's a token-based deck, everything helps. Treasure tokens can mean more rat tokens, it can mean more expensive plays, so if you need to power up Caretaker's Talent, Builder's Talent, or to craft with artifact clay-fired bricks, you have an extra mana you can sink to the Fountain Port. You can also make a token for Caretaker's Talent should you need to draw, or if you need to draw cards, you can sacrifice to Fountain Port. And there's some synergy with Sunken Citadel, because Sunken Citadel produces mana, 2 mana, that you can sink into Fountain Port, so it's not as much of a strain on each of your turns. So with that said, again, this is best of 1, there's no sideboard, it's just cards I feel answer a lot of what I'm seeing in the meta game, at least for this week. I've faced a lot of red-white decks, and a lot of the cards here help out with that. You also have life gain for aggro decks, a lot of exile-based removal for aggro decks and recursive decks such as Zorleen, Dread Knight, stuff like that, and Soul Partition and Seal from Existence for that Innkeeper's Talent Vraska deck. I'm sure there's more I'm missing, but you know, if you want to try it out, I'm running my version. This is my dream version, I just don't have enough wild cards on Arena. So with that said, if you found this useful, do drop a comment, let me know what you like, let me know what you don't like, subscribe, all that. My socials are going to be after this and in the comments below, alright? So, have a good day, I'll see you next time.